Hi, welcome back to our channel. I'm Katie.
And I'm Steph. And this is
This is
Theo.
Theo.
We are a married lesbian couple from Vancouver, Canada, and the creators of Let's See the World.
So as you may know, if you follow us on Instagram or saw one of our recent videos, I proposed to Steph on our 5th wedding anniversary at the end of December, and I asked her if I can take her name.
The proposal was obviously amazing, and I was surprised and so happy. But we're going to tell you a little bit about the decision behind changing Katie's name, and we're going to get into a little bit more detail with that.
So I've had a lot of questions about why I decided to change my name, why I waited 5 years to change it, and just everything that went into my decision. And because it really was a big journey for me, there are so many considerations. I wanted to go into how I came to the conclusion for myself and how I decided what feels best for me. I do just want to say that it's a very personal decision, and by no means are we saying that what we're choosing to do is the right thing. And obviously, we know that every couple is going to be different, and choosing to take your spouse's name is a huge decision. So we really just encourage everyone to do what feels right for them, and we're just sharing our personal experience. So we got married in 2015, and at the time, we both decided to keep our names.
At the time, it honestly wasn't even really a conversation. We both knew that we had built up our careers with our own names, and we thought that it just made sense to continue on using those names.
I don't really remember thinking too hard about it for myself, about whether or not I was really attached to my name or what it all meant. I think I just always thought I would keep my name. I think he thought the same thing, and we were both fine with that at the time. What really got me thinking about it for the first time last year was a friend of ours, Rafni, who is also a creator online. She's a lesbian, and she's married to a woman, and they have 3 adorable kids together. But Rafni shared a post online talking about her decision to take her wife Michaela's name, and it was just one of those posts that I read, and it just kind of like hit me in the face, and it just felt like it was something I really needed to explore. It really resonated with me and got me thinking about why I had never really considered it for myself, why I had never really thought about taking Steph's name. And as soon as I read her story, it just made me think that it was something that I needed to dig a little bit deeper on and start thinking about for myself. At that time, I hadn't started planning our 5-year anniversary yet, and I hadn't started thinking about a proposal. That all came later, but in those moments, it just felt like something I really needed to explore. And so we did sit down and talk about it at that time.
Yeah, when Katie first brought it up, at first I was a little bit surprised because we'd never really talked about it. But then as we discussed it further, it started to all make sense. And even though I personally had never thought about changing my name, the idea of us sharing a name as a family really was something quite lovely to think about.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things that I started thinking about, especially as a same-sex couple and a queer couple. Just having that recognition and sharing a name, having other people being able to recognize you right away as a couple, as a family, is something that I really started to want. I think had I not been gay and I'd married a man, I would have felt really strongly about keeping my own name. I think growing up, I always figured that I would, but being in a same-sex relationship, it really feels so different, and I feel so differently about it.
There have been situations where the validity of our marriage has been in question, even in our home country of Canada, where marriage equality has been in place since 2005. And something as simple as sharing a last name in those situations would have been so helpful. So I think those are all things that we, had to take into consideration as well.
After that initial conversation with Steph, I knew that it was a really big decision. I didn't want to rush it. I told her that it was something I was thinking about and something that I wanted to explore for myself, and then we didn't discuss it again. I took months going over it on my own and doing a lot of reading other women's experiences, and especially the experiences of other queer women and how they felt about changing their names in general and how they felt about taking the name of their female partner. I reached out to Rafferty and we had a lot of really great conversations that helped guide me, and I talked to some other personal friends about how they felt about changing their names and the whole process and how they came to their decisions. And I just spent a lot of time on it and really just listening to my intuition and exploring what felt right for me, and knowing that what feels right now maybe wouldn't have felt right 5 years ago, but that it's not like it's too late and I can still make this decision now. I had built a personal career around my birth name for a really long time, and it's a career that I'm really proud of, and I really wanted to think about whether or not I was ready or willing to rebrand everything with a new name. Beyond that, I also just really needed to consider how I felt about my birth name and whether or not I really felt connected to it. It was something I'd never thought about before, and that side of my family, the people that I share that name with, a lot of them have never met Steph, and a lot of them aren't in my life, so I just really needed to explore what it would mean and how it would feel to let go of that name. Ultimately, after months of thinking about it, I came to the decision that I really, really wanted to take Steph's name, and it just became so all-consuming. I couldn't wait to do it, and I just got so excited about telling her, and it makes me emotional even just to think about it. I wasn't gonna cry. Because I knew I wanted to do something really special for our anniversary, it all kind of came together, and I decided that I would propose and ask her if I could take her name then. But it did mean I had to spend months waiting, and I couldn't wait to do it. I was so excited, and when I finally got to ask you, it felt like a weight was lifted, and it was just such a special moment.
Yeah. After having our discussion about this months ago, I hadn't really heard anything since, so I didn't want to press, and I didn't want to put any pressure on Katie. So I kind of stopped thinking about it, and it was a total surprise when when she asked me, but I was very happy about it.
Something I really wasn't ready for in going through this whole process was hearing everyone's reactions and everyone's advice and suggestions when I didn't necessarily ask for it. And I was just really surprised at how strongly people feel about a woman changing her name. And I think especially a gay woman. And it shocked me how a lot of people reacted. And that's both people who know us and people who don't know us. And I think I wasn't ready for that. I really wanted to just sit in the excitement with you, and it was difficult. So I do think for anyone who's going through this themselves, being ready and knowing that people will have feelings about it and they might have things to say, and to just be prepared for that and know that ultimately the only person who can know what the right decision is you, and you can't expect everyone else to understand, and that just has to be okay.
There were a lot of things to consider, and I think you did all that, but you did it quietly, so.
Definitely. I had a lot of people asking questions and saying, oh, well, have you thought about, keeping your name personally and using it for your work, but then taking her name legally? And of course I thought about all of that. I considered all different ways of doing this. I thought about, hyphenating my name, or taking Steph's name in addition to my last name, or continuing to use my name for some things and using her name for other things. And obviously I thought about all of that. I thought about it a lot, and ultimately I decided to just fully change my name. I already have 2 middle names, so hyphenating or taking Steph's last name in addition to my last name just felt like way too many names. So logistically, it just felt easier to assume her last name as mine. And then in terms of work, because of everything that's gone on this past year, my personal career as a model and a performer have really kind of been on hold, and so it feels like the right time to be going through a big change like that and to be kind of rebranding everything, because I haven't been able to work in the normal capacity of my job in about a year now. So that all wasn't a huge consideration for me. The timing of it actually felt really good.
I think also for our business, it makes perfect sense from a branding perspective to share a name.
Definitely. That's something I thought about too, because my career has kind of been on hold. I've put almost all of my time and energy into Let's See the World over this past year, and it does make a lot of sense to be using the same last name for the business that we're growing together. I really do see this business as our future and something that we're going to continue to build, and I do see my personal career as something that's really shifting and changing into something else. So the timing really did make sense.
Logistically, where we live in BC, it's quite easy to assume a spouse's name because it's different than legally changing a name. Depending on where you live, I'm sure things are different, but in BC, it is quite straightforward.
I've been in the process for the past month, I guess. It is a lot of work and some tedious tasks involved, but it's really exciting and it makes me happy to do it, even if it means making a lot of phone calls and doing a lot of work online. And Steph has been such a big help, especially with rebranding everything for me business-wise and changing all my email addresses and my website domain and all the things that I wouldn't really know how to do.
Yeah, whenever there is a tech job, I am at Katie's service.
Tech Steph. So we're still very much in the process. It's going to take a bit of time to change everything over, especially for legal documents, but a lot of it, we're not in a huge rush for things like my passport. It really doesn't matter right now, so yeah, I'm okay with it taking some time. And yeah, we're slowly switching everything over, and I'm very excited to be a Burlton.
I'm excited too.
Moving forward, I'm officially using Burlton for everything, and it feels really good. Every time I see something come in my new name or someone uses my new name, it honestly just makes me feel so happy, and it just confirms that this is the right decision for me. My advice for anyone who is thinking about this for themselves, whether you're engaged or you're already married or you're not and you're just thinking about the future, I would really say to take your time on this because it is a huge, huge decision. And I know that historically it's been customary for women to assume their spouse's name. And the nice thing is that there really are no rules anymore, and lots of women choose to keep their names, or they choose to hyphenate their names, or take their spouse's name in addition to their last name, or come up with a new last name altogether. I had such a good time hearing everyone's stories about what they've chosen to do personally, and just hearing about what a variety there was, and some really creative ideas as well. Just because this is what we chose, it doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of other really great ways to go about this. There are so many considerations that go into this decision, like whether or not you and your partner are choosing to have kids one day and you want to share a name for that purpose. Also, your career and whether or not you've built a career around your birth name, and if you're comfortable and willing to rebrand your business like I did. As well as that, considering your family relationship. Something that made the decision really easy for me is that I do feel really connected to Steph's family, and I always have. They've been so welcoming to me, and that's something that I feel really fortunate to be able to experience, and not just her immediate family and her parents, but her extended family as well. They've all just welcomed me with open arms from the beginning, and that made it a really easy decision also.
The feedback from all the Burltons has been amazing, and they're all just so happy to have another Burlton officially, because Katie was always a Burlton in their eyes anyway.
For me, there were other little things that made the decision easy, like both my birth name and Steph's name are 2 syllables at the beginning of the alphabet. They both trace back to England, and I happen to just really like her name. It's a name that I thought sounded good with my name, and all those things really just made it an easy decision for me. So if you feel really personally connected to your name, if it's a big part of your heritage, like all of those things are things that you're really going to have to think about.
I personally feel very connected to my name, so I've always felt strongly about keeping it. That being said, I'm obviously very happy that Katie and I get to share a name as a family, but I do understand that position of not wanting to change your name, and that's a completely valid position as well.
Ultimately, I would recommend spending a lot of time on this decision because it really is a huge choice, and just really listening to your gut instinct. I think for me, I spent a lot of time thinking about it, but ultimately listening to my intuition, I knew in my gut what I wanted to do and what felt right for me. And that just gets confirmed every single time I see my new name. It just feels so right. It feels so much more like me than anything before. And I feel so connected to Steph and so connected to our little family, even more than ever before, which I didn't think was possible.
Obviously, this decision is very individual, and everyone has different reasons for either changing their name, not changing their name, hyphenating, or coming up with a new name. So we'd love to know what you've done or what you're considering doing. So if you're willing to share, please let us know in the comments below.
Yes, we'd love to hear. And if anyone is going through this process themselves and trying to make a decision, and if you want someone to talk to, I'm always here if you're looking for someone to chat about all this with.
Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. We put out a new video every Friday, so be sure to subscribe.
Thanks so much again, and see you next week.